Hello and welcome to day 24 of Evergreen Month. This is Travis. I'm your host at Tpull's Corner, and I'm experimenting with a different layout to see if this works better just to go through the deck. Let me know if this works better for you guys, if you like this kind of look. This shows the mana curve, so all the 1-drops are all in the one place to the left, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 drops. And I'll give you an overview of the deck real quick. We got 15 creatures only, and 25 lands out of 65 cards total. So it's a little bit tough on the lands, but it seems to work the way it is. And today's subject is Scry. Okay, now as a mechanic, it's not one of the glitzy ones, it's not one of the glamorous ones, it's not like Menace or First Strike or Trample or anything like that, but it's one that you should really incorporate into your strategy overall. So the definition, if you're brand new to Magic, is Scry. You look at the top card of your library. You can put that card on the bottom of your library if you want, or leave it right where it is. There are other cards that allow you to scry 2 cards in, 3 cards in, or even more, depending on what the spell is. So if you scry 2, you can move those cards around in the order you want to see which one's on top. You can put one of them on the bottom and leave one on the top. You can move both of them to the bottom of your library. It's all depending on what you need. So what I basically did is I constructed a deck that revolves around scry cards. So it might not be the most well balanced in terms of playing a ranked battle, but this is just the introductory mechanics and how you handle things, how you learn the terms, how you learn to use the cards, how you learn to use the actual mechanic itself. And we're still going to win some games with this. So let me go through the deck real quick. We've got Opt, which you scry 1 and then draw a card, so it replaces itself. Overwhelmed Apprentice, enter the battlefield, your opponent mills 2 cards, and then you scry 2. Unsummon, return a target creature to your owner's hand to save your own creature or to get rid of one of their tokens, for example. Wall of Runes, a 0/4 blocker that can scry 1 when it enters the battlefield. Witching Well that enters, it scries 2 when it enters, and you can pay 4 later to sacrifice the artifact, and you can draw 2 cards. Skyway Sniper, he's got Reach, I should say. And you can pay 3 mana. It's got to be 1 green and 2 colorless. And each 3 mana that you pay, you get to deal 1 damage to a target creature with flying. 2 copies of the Elf Rogue, Tajuru Blightblade, with Death Touch. 1 copy of Inquisitive Puppet. When a puppet enters the battlefield, it can scry 1. Later, you can exile the puppet, basically anytime, your turn, your opponent's turn, and the 0/2 goes away, and you end up with the 1/1 white human creature token that's shown to the right. This is a fun card to put into almost any deck, actually, because your opponents do not know how to deal with it. Half the time, people don't have any experience with it. They try and kill it for some reason. They don't realize you can exile it at a whim and avoid whatever spell that they were aiming at it and making it fizzle. So if you're facing a deck with a lot of, say, removal spells that you're anticipating, go ahead and stick this in there. You'll probably make them waste at least 1, and then you'll end up with a 1/1 token creature that you can equip with artifacts, or you can sacrifice it to another spell. You can use it as a chump blocker. All sorts of uses for this particular puppet. 1 copy of Multiple Choices is the newer Strixhaven card. You get to do different things depending on how much money you're willing to spend. So you can actually spend unlimited on the X, as many as you have, but there's no reason to do more than 4, really. Once you do 4, you've hit the limit. If you only do 1, so 1 colorless and 1 blue, you can scry 1 and then draw a card. If it's 2, you get to choose a player, they return a creature they control to the owner's hand, and you get to scry. Or sorry, no, you only get to choose a player. If you choose 3, you get a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. Only if it's 4 or more, so if you spend 5 total, do you get to do all 3 things. Can't mess that up. Deliberate, you scry 2, then draw a card. Medomai's Prophecy. This one you almost have to see it play in-game just to make sure that you don't mess it up, because it's messed up a lot. But you scry 2 at the beginning, you choose a card name the next turn. The 3rd turn's when you cast a spell with the chosen name, and that's where you get the real benefit of drawing 2 cards. The 4th turn, you get to look at the top of your library and your opponent's library. 1 copy Omen of the Sea. Scry 2 when it enters, and you draw a card. You can sacrifice it later to scry 2 more. Riddleform's a fun enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can have Riddleform become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying. But I included it because of its additional power of scry 1. You pay 3 for it. I see a lot of players put this enchantment down and then forget to use the Scry later when they have spare mana. So we really want to remind you of this card, remind you of the additional Scry ability it has, and to make sure to use it whenever you can. 3 copies of Trackdown. This one you can scry 3 deep. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or land card, you draw a card. 1 copy of Mazemind Tome. Most people are already familiar with this. To spend 2 and draw a card, or you can just tap it and scry 1. Moving on to the 3-tap mana. We got some counterspells. Convolute. Counterspell unless the controller pays 4 additional mana. 1 Midnight Clocks, mostly to counter mill decks. 1 Jace the Mirror Mage. This, you can put it down with just 3 mana and it'll be just Jace with 4 loyalty points. If you kick it and spend 5 mana, you get Jace plus a mirrored token of Jace. It's not legendary. It's the starting loyalty of the token is only 1, but they have the same loyalty abilities. So they can both get +1 for scrying 2, and they can both draw a card and reveal it. So I almost always try and wait for the kicker on this one. Llanowar Visionary. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Omen in the Hunt. You can flash this in on their turn as well. Search for a basic land card. You can sacrifice it to scry 2. Now we're getting into our primary creature that does a lot of the heavy lifting, Lorescale Coatl. Whenever you draw a card, you put a +1 counter on the Coatl. Primal Empathy works really well with Lorescale Coatl. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield. Otherwise, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. So this one, every once in a while, I have to stop and remember which attribute I get depending on what condition on the board is going on. So the big thing is we really like the card draw, so I really want the biggest creature on the board. If you've got a 4/4 creature on the opponent's side and your Coatl is still just a 2/2, then you get to put an additional 1/1 counter on the Coatl. Thaumaturge is familiar with flying. It gets to scry 1 when he enters the battlefield. Ingenious Mastery. You pay 3 rather than pay this. This one's a complicated one because if I remember right, and this should be in one of the games, I tried to pay for the X and it didn't let me. So this may be one where you need to go full control and I'll need to practice later. I'm recording this now after I've played all the games. But I tried to cast it and it just let me pay the 3, so my opponent got to scry 2 himself and he got 2 treasure tokens. Behold the Multiverse. You scry 2, then draw 2 cards. You can foretell that for 2 ahead of time. Inscription of Insight. It has a kicker, so you can choose one, or if you pay the kicker cost, you can get all 3. One of the abilities is scry. You can either return 2 target creatures to their own hands, scry 2, then draw 2 cards, or create an XX blue illusion creature token you can see there on the right. The Octoprophet, 3/3 creature that scries 2 when it enters. Memory Drain that counters target spell, and you can scry 2 as well. Mythos of Illuna. This is not a scry card for a change, but I did want something that if the enemy gets something totally overpowering, I can just copy it, maybe cancel each other out. 1 copy of Rewind so that I can counter a spell and still maybe have some extra lands that I can untap and cast another instant that turn if I need to. 1 copy of Inspire Awe. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt, except by combat damage that would be dealt by enchanted creatures and enchantment creatures, and you scry 2. This one I'm probably going to take out after all the battles are over. Arasta of the Endless Reb. This is against flyers, reach, and whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, you get one of those little 1/2 green spider creature tokens that also have reach. That's handy. Alrund, God of the Cosmos. This is from the Kaldheim expansion. It's a dual mode card, so you can do 2 different things with it. What we like to do sometimes, if we can, is we bring out Haka, the Whispering Raven, for 2 mana. The next turn, the Raven flies over, hits the damage to the player. Once you do that, the bird returns to your hand, and you get to scry 2. Okay, then you start putting down Alrund, God of the Cosmos next. At the beginning of your end step, you get to choose a card type, so it could be a creature or an instant or a sorcery. Remember, you've done the scry 2 thing, so you should know what the top card or 2 on your deck is. So if you really want to make sure that you get to put that into your hand, you do have to reveal it, but you get to say the type, put it into your hand, show the enemy, but you get an extra draw card there. Stormwing Entity, flying and prowess, costs less the cost if you've already cast an instant or sorcery spell. When it enters the battlefield, you scry 2. Voracious Greatshark. This is just mostly for a counterspell on a creature because I don't have a lot of creatures, remember. Only 15 total. 1 copy of Sublime Epiphany. Pay 6, and you get to choose all sorts of different counterspells and neat effects. And Prophet of the Peak, which I do get to use at least once. Cast 6 to cost. It's 5/5. When it enters, you get to scry 2, and the rest is our lands. So, sit tight, watch the battles. They're kind of fun. I use scry a lot, and I hope that you're going to get a sense of how much you should incorporate scrying into your strategy. Not just take it when it appears on a card and use it on occasion, but actually plan it into your overall strategy. If you don't have it in your deck to begin with when you're settling on a deck, this should actually be part of your deck making calculus. You need it for, especially to survive the early rounds in case you have mana problems. A lot of what you're using it for is just to choose lands, or if you have too many lands, to shove them to the bottom. Other times you'll get a very big creature that you can't afford at the early stages, or maybe you're in trouble and you get a 1-drop in the middle of the game and it's really not going to be any good to you, so you need to shove it away and hope to get something better for a draw. All of these scry abilities are going to teach you to dig through your deck, learn to get better at managing your overall deck and what's coming up to you in the draw. And you're going to learn over time to get better and better at that. You're going to learn what the probabilities are of getting a certain card are. You're going to learn to be looking for a specific card to help you out because you know what's left in your deck and what you've already used, and if there's any hope for you at all. Sometimes the only way that you're going to get through it is if you manage to scry until you get to the right solution. So with that, enjoy the games. Cute. You gave me 3 islands and 3 green spells. Is worthless. You can take your portable home somewhere else. This is a back Inquisitive Puppet because people never seem to know how to do it. To give them advantage of back because if I just pay the cost, the other cards will get you. Let's see, when he enters the battlefield, That's an expensive stone to spend on a 1/1. If you're going to spend that kind of energy, I want to keep that 1/1 because that means you got land people coming at me. And you're afraid of creatures. We don't need to spend the opt because we already know the next card that's coming. So we're going to keep our mana ready for counter. No, you can have it. Graveyard, you can't. Because then you could give it the pennant and the sword. See how that works? 1, 2, 3, 4. We also can't have a counter spawn. I'm okay with them. I want them to be do something. I want to see what they have in their hand. See what else they have. This is basically removal so far. Nothing wrong with removal. I'm expecting to see more adventures in the games. That's very strange. 6 cards and you're not doing anything. Let's go to the island now. First from Scry. Yes. We don't have to play that yet. Return him to the owner's hand. Okay, so we're afraid of yourselves. We're going to sit here and do nothing. Because we're afraid of him. Nothing to see here. We're just shaking in our booties. Waiting for the 7/7. Because we can't kill him, right? We only got 5 points of damage. So you can just swing on over and hit us. Vigilance and training. You could really use. I didn't even jump up with my wall. Still took damage. Oh. 15. You're really gonna attack now, right? It's not like you can not attack. You didn't attack. Because they have my Death Toucher, right? Okay, I have enough. I'm gonna put the... That's all we gotta do. We need to keep 6 open for Sublime Epiphany. At some point he's gonna remove the Death Toucher, or he's gonna just accept the idea of doing 15 points of damage, even if it's possible. There's yet another chance. 2020. Good trap. This card doesn't work because he's an enchanted creature, so... Card, create a token, and return as a return. Target my creature. You tap down, so you can't stop it. You can tap him and
legendary, so I don't think we can't do any attack. No value. That's an example for the Scry. And most of the cards that we played to try and grab the cards that we needed and ditch the cards that we didn't. And it worked just right. This is not a very good hand. 2 blues, source to beef up the... Look at that. Okay, so if you're going to do that... If somebody's going to survive normally, I'll let him through if he doesn't play that. He can come on through and attack me with everybody else. Stop either of the two birds, but the owl can get through. What are you looking at my raven for? My raven is still in chains. Spending a long time at the end of his turn. I'm not sure what he's expecting. This again. Interesting. Okay, now we can spend 4 to Scry. But if we do that, we don't have enough for a counterspell. We can't get through with him. And he's got 12 damage, so we can't get through with the puppet. So we're stuck where we are. And he probably wants to use the Voracious Greatshark. Or at least the Stormwing Entity. And we are not going to do that. Flurries in a line. It's something more than we had, and every turn gets us better with our own Lorescale Coatl. As long as our opponent doesn't have removal. Yes. Do I have enough to beat it? No, he's got enough to pay that. So that guy gets taken off the board. I got 2 Death Touchers to block the land still, and he can't get through my flyers just yet. You want to make that trade? And that trade? Okay. Let's clear the board. Scry 2 and draw 2. that is actually what happens a lot with Scry decks, is once you get enough land, you're just using Scry to toss it away so you can get to the actual useful spells. Should be okay with just swarming us with everybody and understanding that they're going to win. That's enough. Yeah, this particular deck is the Scry. Probably have to design a different deck with swarmed with this type of deck. So it's take its time. If they have the right creatures and cantrips, they can really pump up these guys fast and kill us in the first couple of turns. So 4 points of damage already. Let's see, we need to land before we get to deal with the Greatshark. If we can get the Llanowar Visionary and they survive, we can still keep Landshark. So let's. I don't want to tap the Fabled Passage yet until we get it. Because that will reshuffle all of our will go away. This is just a chunk blocker anyway, so I don't mind if they use a shock on it instead of us for a change. That will still be helpful.
A fight fast? Oh, I'll win by blade or by bolt.
We go get the next level. Keep that down.
You don't frighten me.
Not really.
Don't worry, this won't take long. I'll make quick work of you.
Land before I can use the Greatshark. We're gonna take a risk here. Remove spell. Let's move that up. Well, we're gonna draw them both, right? So we'll just take them. Stop me, or is the? Did you forget about Riddleform? You take my Greatshark. I'll cover. It's like a fun competition.
The Prismari teach some good moves.
I'll trade you for your Elite Spellbinder. We're keeping you from doing an artifact or a creature. We might not.
Practice makes potent. challenger.
Needed that to be a land so I could get this one again. Now I have 3 threats.
Every day I grow more powerful.
Instants or sorceries. Okay, we don't have travel, right? We can styling your own parts of your graveyard. Not worth attacking. You can remove one of my lands at any time. So Tome Shredder. How many more you got? Not a whole lot left. Yeah, let's see what else we got. Use the tome. If their spells cost 3 or more, we've got them on hold. Your spell only costs 3. You can give it. You don't want to give that to my Death Toucher, do you? That's what I thought. wasted. do this. We're going to lose all of our cards due to Midnight Clock. So, what we're going to use is 3, 6, 7, 8. So we can draw 5. So we just want to pump up the Coatl. Ingenious Mastery. I thought I had plenty of extra mana. It didn't prompt me for an X copy.